Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Unleash Your Pleasure. I'm so excited. Once again, I say it every time to introduce each wonderful speaker every day who's here. We've all come together to team up to help you really create that passionate, intimate, and fulfilling sex life that you're wanting. So today, I'm more than happy to introduce Leah Piper. Hi, Leah.
Hello.
Thanks so much for being here.
Such a pleasure.
I'm excited for our chat. I'm just going to read your bio and then we'll jump right in.
Oh.
So Leah Piper, the founder of More Love Works, is an advanced certified Tantra educator and certified positive psychology coach. By combining the art of conscious loving with the science of well-being, she's developed a modern approach to effectively enhance any relationship, whether it's partnership in the bedroom or partnership in the boardroom. Leah has facilitated thousands of couples and individuals all over the world through More Love Works, Source School of Tantra Yoga, certification courses, and private retreats to provide healing tools that increase the human experience of profound love. Oh my gosh, I love that. Profound love, not just love.
Now, let's take it higher. That's what I'm all about.
Amazing. Well, I'm so happy to have you here, and I would love for you to start us off to just talk a little bit about what Tantra is, because I feel like some people may be unsure about what it really is or have some misconceptions about it.
Yeah, a lot of people, their only reference for Tantra is they've seen it here and there in pulp culture. You know, it was talked about in American Pie, and then there was that interview with Sting and Oprah. There's been a couple actresses that have written about it in interviews, like they've spoken about their tantric experience or this whole idea about tantric sex. And I want to preface it by saying is that Tantra is a very big topic. And sexuality, if you were thinking of it as like a pie, is just a piece of the pie. There's an old sutra that says that Tantra gets reincarnated from age to age, depending on what the culture needs, which brings me, towards why I started to investigate Tantra. Why it was a path that I chose for myself. And that has to do with sexual healing. I think that what's happening in our day and age, and why Tantra has become so popular and is now starting to move more and more into the mainstream, is because people are really have a deep longing to not only be sexually met and have a deeper experience of sexuality, but they've also been really wounded on the path to love. And so it's this really kind of fascinating technology that was developed over 2,000 years ago in the Indus Valley. And the Indus Valley is located in India. This was India before India was India. Tantra existed before there was Hinduism and even Buddhism. And what got developed from a matriarchal society. And it was seen as a place for householders to go on their own path to enlightenment. You didn't have to go to the forest or to an ashram to reach enlightenment. This was a way for people who were going to have families and work in villages and towns and kind of be like a normal family to still pursue a spiritual path towards God. In other words, like, how can we get ahead on the God game too, if we're not going to stop having sex? If you look at most, if not all, yogic traditions except for Tantra yoga, if you look at all of the major religions, most of them preach celibacy. In Tantra yoga, it's called brahmacharya, celibacy. And it's because that sexual energy, that which has the power to create life itself, is so potent, is so powerful, is so tempting and alluring and filled with desire, that if we could capture it and instead of waste it, squander it, become abusive with it, one could take and cultivate that sexual energy and save it and use it to once again get ahead on the path to God.
Mm.
That's sort of the original idea of where Tantra yoga came from. So here's a path, and if we were to look at the sexual elements of it, and so you've got people who study classical Tantra, and that's going to range far and wide in all these very different topics: non-dualism, meditation, waking up the body. Another way of sort of describing what that is if I could just describe non-dualism in a sentence, it's basically like the spirit that lives in me, the creation that lives in me, the consciousness that lives in me, that's looking out of my eyes at life, is the same that's in you, but it's looking out of your eyes. And so the whole premise of that is that we are all the same. We're all just having these crazy experiences. So, but it's not us who's having the experiences, it's consciousness that's having the experience through all of us. And therefore, it's a way of not taking things so personally. And it's very complex. We're only going to tap into a little bit here. And that is to say, there's been a path called Neo-Tantra, where the focus is much more connected to sexuality. And that's where this whole idea of, because we've been so wounded on the path to love, and because what we most desire is to be met, is to be understood, is to have passion, is to like just have this beautiful experience in partnership. It's why, that's sort of the direction that I've leaned into in terms of my expertise. So most people come to me and to understand Tantra and its practices because they have a deep desire to either sexually heal, become masterful of partnership, and to become a master lover.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to. Yeah. You brought up so many wonderful points, and like that healing piece is like so valuable. And I would really love to dive into that. Like, because maybe on some level, all of us have experienced some form of like trauma or just like unwanted sexual attention or something that just didn't feel good to us. So, and we may be a little more mistrusting or closed off. So how does like Tantra support someone in like breaking through that healing and going through that process?
It's a good question. When I was first looking at Tantra, I had been raised first in a born-again Christian Pentecostal home. And then we switched over to Catholicism, and I had to go to Catholic school, and I got baptized in Catholicism. So I grew up in a very confusing, but looked at Christian faith. And I had this deep experience of spirituality in my heart. I felt like I was deeply nurtured as a young child in my family. But then when the conversation of sex arose, it was scary. It was shrouded in shame. There was a feeling of danger. There was this hyper focus on virginity and remaining a virgin. And so it was something that I was like taught to fear. And because I was a girl in the family, there was this whole really interesting virginal preciousness that was also wrapped up in there. So I came out of growing up feeling super confused. And I was also sexually molested. So you have a combination of being sexually harmed as a kid, and that informing, oh my gosh, there's something must be really wrong with me, shame that this happened. And so I didn't know at the time that my desire to seek out Tantra was about sexual healing. What I thought I was connecting, because I read this book called Tantra, The Art of Conscious Loving by Charles and Caroline Muir, what I was hungry for was sex and God. How do I bridge these two worlds? Is it possible for there to be like, do we have to be cut off from spirituality when we're having sex? Because of how I was raised religiously.
Okay.
And then my mind was blown when I realized, oh, honey, we're not going to only deal with that part. We're also going to deal with this big secret you've been holding your whole life.
Yeah.
And so then, because it's an embodiment practice, you could read so many books about Tantra. You could watch 50 interviews with various Tantra educators, and you will still not know what Tantra is. Tantra is an embodiment practice. And the reason why it's so tremendously healing is because it's a somatic experience.
Yeah.
In order for you to deeply, deeply, profoundly connect with another, or even profoundly connect with just yourself and self-pleasuring, you have to encounter these parts of your system. And when you're putting so much love in, what tends to happen is whatever isn't love gets a chance to come to the surface and be released. And you get to be freed. You get to be liberated from that which has caused you pain. And so that's how I stumbled into it. It was like, suddenly, no matter how much I wanted to press down this big secret of having been harmed as a kid, couldn't do it anymore. My body wasn't going to say, you don't get to have both. You don't get to actually experience this deep spiritual, profound love and pleasure and bliss and go to all these magical realms and hold on to self-hatred, unworthiness, shame, guilt, and fear. You got to give it up. And it really felt miraculous coming from a kid who just thought for sure she was broken. Like, there's just no chance for me.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that story. And like, I love when people are so open about their own journey around that, because it makes it like, it's easy for someone to be like, okay, yes, that may be my experience now, but seeing you've come through that, so other people can kind of have that empowered feeling too, that it could change for them as well. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you don't have to, it's so interesting. Like, the word trauma is used so much now. And I think before we used to have sort of trauma in a box about like, what is trauma? Car accidents and near-death experiences and serious physical harm, right? We could all call that trauma. But what people are starting to understand is everyone, as they come of age and are a human being, you're going to go through moments of life that deeply impact you, that are going to be traumatic. And our ranges are so different, but we can't judge one person's trauma against another person's trauma. All this path is, it's just a path to go, we're so fortunate to have so much of our survival needs met. We live in a very wealthy country. Most of us are not going to die of starvation here. Most of us have a roof over our head, even if sometimes the rent goes unpaid or the mortgage goes unpaid. So we do have, we're not fighting for our survival. And what that opens the door for us as like these cultural human beings is we can actually pursue things like, what is love? What does it feel like? What is it? How do I know it? How does it feel in my body? How's it connected to pleasure? How's it connected to peace? How's it connected to grace? And so I think that it's a beautiful thing when we can make time to study love as if it were an art form, and to find all the different ways that we can express ourselves with it and experience it in the world. We're so privileged that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how much your practice is like built around creating that profound love. I think that's really beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's what a lot of people want.
Oh, totally. We want the fairy tale.
I'm going into my 19th year of being a professional with the art of conscious loving. And before COVID, we spent 17 years going to city to city to city, teaching these weekend seminars. And you bring these couples and these singles into the classroom, and they're one-way Friday. They're walking in nervous, unsure, who the hell shows up to these things? Are they going to make us take our clothes off? It's like all this like nervous energy, which is so natural. I remember my first weekend seminar and I was like, oh my God, I can always leave. I can always leave if I don't like anything.
Yeah.
But what people discover is they go so deep into themselves, into the beloved that dwells within their heart. They go, if they're there with a partner, they fall in love all over again. And by Sunday, it ends up being like one of these experiences where it's like an inflection point. You arrive one way and then you leave transformed. And I felt like such an enormous gift to be a part of that, to watch people just practice love and then to see like what lightens up in them as a result of just showing up and just being the love that they are, even with strangers that they don't know, like eye gazing someone for 20 seconds and seeing the sweetness in them, you know, being aware of someone else's heart because they're feeling vulnerable and they're telling you something they haven't told anyone in 10 years. I mean, these things can happen between us.
Yeah,
And it's so life affirming.
totally. I want to go to one of those now. That sounds
Yeah, I've got to get them
amazing.
back on the calendar. Get it into the same room with each other.
Yeah. And so what are some like, I'm just curious, like you can only talk so much, can't go fully into it, but like what are some just like of the activities that people can do to like kind of experience that?
Yeah. So one thing that I think gets really, I think people think is kind of goofy or weird if they're
Mm,
not used to it is eye gazing, you
yeah.
know, and I think part of it is it makes us a little nervous. Someone's actually looking into us. There is that old saying, the eyes are the doorways of the soul, right? So we have that in our in the background. The other thing is like, well, what's somebody going to see? The other thing is someone's just staring at you. Like, how
Mm,
uncomfortable is that? Like, you just want to like stare at it? No, that is so awkward, you know? So it's like, how do you do this with your partner? And often what happens is giggling, you know, like the first thing that arises is nervousness and giggling and
mm-hmm,
kind of self-consciousness. You know, is
mm-hmm,
this stupid? Is this dumb? I hope you like what you see.
mm-hmm,
And then it gets like even softer and kind of sweeter, and then it can often get tender. And if you just like sit with your partner, even for 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 5 minutes, and you just look
mm-hmm.
into their eyes and you look beyond their eyes, actually. You go in and you see, what else can I see? You know, what else is there? What are the things that you don't even have language for, but you can feel it, you know? So it's like your throat that's stuck in your throat. Like you would say it if you could, but you don't know how to yet. You know, like what's in our heart? And can we let somebody in that deep that they can actually see into our heart? Can we travel? Can our gaze be so gentle and so soft that we can, with so much love and sacredness, go down and travel into their belly and see where they're scared or they're nervous or where
Mm-hmm.
they've been humiliated? You know, a lot of fear is held in our belly. Our intuition too, and our power is held there as well. You
It
know, you
is.
go in and you can see, God, you're so gorgeous, you're so confident, you so know who you are. And then to like travel even further down and, you know, check out their passion, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because passion isn't just for the bedroom, passion is for our whole life. And
Mm-hmm.
so if we're asleep in the bedroom all the time and we're not activating that passion, then we're really doing a disservice to how passion gets realized in the rest of our life. And so when we can just, with a loving gaze, travel and just connect to passion, feeling your own passion and shining it out your eyes, looking at the spark of their passion, you know, this nonverbal eye gazing actually says so much. It says, I see you. It says, I love you. It says, I am loved by you.
Yeah.
And it's just a really, really deep way of deep, deep, deep connection. Um, it's actually, I give people a free gift, but what they don't know is they also get a second free gift a few days later.
Ooh.
And I have a whole tutorial on eye gazing and how not to make it creepy or goofy.
Mm, mm,
So if you can look forward to that if you want to check it out. It's simple, and no one has to take their clothes off either, unless
yeah.
you want to. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, here's like another tip if we've got time, is there's this moment, we call it pause and go lovemaking. It's something that people forget to do. We kind of have this idea that we need to, like, the goal is get it up, get it in, get it off.
Yes.
And that's the job. And if we do that job, everyone's successful and everyone's okay and we keep on
Mhm.
going in life. But we're totally missing the boat. And
Mm,
we are so unsatisfied with that. And
right.
at some point, most people, especially in their middling years, go, I know there's something more to sex. And
Yeah.
it's probably one of the reasons why they're watching this right now, is because deep down they know there's something more to sex and they want it. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the ways to get it is to show up with more depth and more presence. There's this moment where you're like connecting to the passion and you're moving and there's lots of friction. And then if you can just take a deep breath in together, pause, gaze. I'm talking 20 seconds. You're not gonna,
Mm-hmm.
erections aren't gonna get lost, juiciness isn't gonna dry up. You can totally hang out for a 10
Mm-hmm.
to 20-second breath together. And all you do is you stop moving, stop the friction,
Mm-hmm.
pause, look at each other, and then breathe in together and out together. And maybe you do 2, 3 of those breaths, and then you
Mm-hmm.
bring in the friction. If the
Mm-hmm.
energy starts to kind of, start to dim too much, that's when you get started again. When you get your little mojo and you speed up the fire and you light it up, and then you pause and you take a moment of enjoying the light that you just
Mm-hmm.
lit up, the passion that's now on fire. Like, take a pause and drink deep from it. It's as
Mm-hmm.
simple as that. These little things transform lovemaking
Mm-hmm.
because it is a direct deposit into intimacy. This is
Totally.
how we actually get more intimacy. People always complain there's not enough intimacy. Well, that's because people don't know how to create intimacy. They have an
Mm-hmm.
idea of what it means. I think it means to be close with someone, but how do you actually do that?
Mm-hmm.
There
Yeah.
you go. Pause and go, baby.
Yes, I love that. And eye gazing is such a beautiful, simple, easy way. Anyone can do it. Like, and it's just a beautiful way to create that connection and slow down. I always tell people about slowing down.
Go
Like you
way
said,
down.
getting away from the, what did you say? Up in, out or
Yeah, get
off?
it up, get it in, get it off. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. Slow it way down. We are
Mhm.
such in a hurry. And I think our anxiety plays a role in that. I think we think of all the things we have to do and our mind gets distracted from the loving that's happening. And sometimes it's
Mhm.
actually hard to let ourselves be loved. So we
Yeah.
just soon distract ourselves and we start thinking about the list. And now suddenly we get impatient
Yeah.
and we just want to hurry it up.
Yeah.
But we really rob ourselves. We rob
Mhm.
ourselves of experiences that create immense amount of life satisfaction and give us an immense amount of meaning and provide us with experiences of awe. And those
Mm.
are 3 things that are critical in life satisfaction measurements. When they took a look at end of life and
Mm.
go, okay, have I lived a well-lived life? What's
Mm.
my score on life satisfaction? Well, the people who have high task scores are the ones that do slow down, that learn how to
Mhm.
savor, that allow themselves to smell that rose, that allow themselves to smell their lover and
Mm.
everywhere, that allow themselves to be present in this thing called life,
Mhm.
especially in this thing called love. So we
Yeah.
have to remember that and I think this is hard for couples who've got kids because so much of their love goes towards funneling and raising good human beings that
Mhm.
they get neglected in the mix. Or the love of the little babies is so yummy, you kind of feel like that's all you need. It's so satisfying, but it's not. We need to turn towards our partner. We need to
Mhm.
turn towards our partner and remember they're our lover.
Yeah.
They're our lover. Oh my God, you're so lucky. You're so privileged. Scoop them up.
Mhm.
Tell them how much not just how much you love them, but why you love them.
Yeah.
Share, articulate your gratitude.
That like gratitude and appreciation and expressing that goes such a long way in relationships, in any relationship. But yeah.
Yeah, and another interesting marker regarding life satisfaction is encountering obstacles and
Mm.
having adversarial experiences in your life. People who confront adversarial experiences, who have crises and deal with stress and manage problems, guess what? They score higher in life satisfaction
Mm.
levels. Because
Interesting. Yeah.
there's something about overcoming obstacles that does create purpose, meaning, experiences of awe, a gratitude. Like,
Mm.
it's okay if you think you're a hot mess. is basically the message. You get to be a hot mess. You're going to deal with problems in your life. They don't stop. It's not a measurement of whether you're good or bad, or whether you're winning or losing, or successful or a failure. You know, just like we have to sort of start to shift our mindset when it comes to this is hard. This is hard.
Definitely.
And guess what? Hard is good, turns out.
Yeah, that's how we learn. And I think that's a great way to actually build connection in our relationships, is to go through that and work through those experiences.
Use it as an opportunity to bond and to be in partnership, and to get support if you're not communicating well. If it's getting harder, because usually it's because communication is sliding, and two or three or four people, whatever the case may be, can't hear. It's not so much about what you say that's different. It's actually learning how to listen differently. That's another skill set that people should study for sure.
Yes. Okay, I wanted to go back to something we were talking about earlier, because I feel like it'd be really helpful for the audience. When we were talking about how we kind of like rush through sex and like, get through it fast, I feel like that's because we correlate like our ability to like make our partner orgasm, like that's correlated with how we feel about how we are in bed, like our sexual like capacity and abilities. So could you speak into that just a bit, and how that's not necessarily the case?
It's actually like the number one mistake I think people make is they make orgasm the goal of sex.
Yeah.
What happens as a result of it, of I have to be able to give an orgasm, or I have to be able to get an orgasm from sex, is that sex then becomes stressful. Our cortisol levels go up, our grading of each other. It's like suddenly we're passing or we're failing. A relationship is in trouble or it's successful. And then our egos are also getting either pumped up or slammed down. It's either I'm a great lover or I'm a horrible lover, or they're a horrible lover. Oh my God, they don't know how to have sex. They're the worst lover I've ever had. Well, let me tell you, that doesn't help anyone become a good lover, that information. We want to start taking a look at, in fact, one of the easiest ways to start having orgasms is if you feel like you're missing out on a lot of pleasure, make sex about love. Orgasms follow love. Orgasms are energy and movement. When energy is stuck, it's painful. Oh, my shoulder. Oh, my bad knee. Stuck energy equals pain. Moving energy equals pleasure. A good laugh is like a good orgasm.
You bet.
A good cry is like a good orgasm. A good poop is like an orgasm. I'm telling, like, energy and movement. When a good pee can be orgasmic. It's just all on how you look at it. And so I have lots of tips and tricks and methods and breathing styles and pressure points and ways to stroke these parts that express themselves with lots of pleasure. And I love teaching those tips. But at the end of the day, the most simple thing is to get back to loving each other. Get back to thinking of sex as like this worshipful experience. Project onto your lover that they are the god or the goddess. And you have like this one wonderful evening or morning or afternoon or lunch hour, wherever you can fit it in. And just pretend that you get to make love to God or the goddess. And how would you worship them? If you had 15 minutes on your lunch hour, how would you shower them with gratitude, appreciation, reverence? How would you, stroke this, that, and the other thing? If it were something that was worth worshiping, because guess what? Your partner is worth worshiping. Totally. And when we kind of come to that attitude, we get to take stress off the table. We bring in play. We stop taking things so seriously. We can laugh. We can let go. We want sex to feel like it frees us. Not like we're gonna like get in trouble if we do a bad job. And also get your ego out of sex. Your partner does not want your ego or your insecurities all over them, and I think we do this a lot to men is men, a lot of their sexual self-esteem is tied into whether or not they can give their partner an orgasm. But no one teaches men, or women for that matter, lovemaking skills, or it's really more about who do you want to be in lovemaking, not what you're doing.
Yeah.
And yes, there are things to do. Yes, those things will make you a better lover. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not an either or. If you over focus on techniques, you're going to miss the boat.
Yeah.
And you're going to still stay where you're at. Let's start with the foundation of love, consciousness, awakening, putting your heart into your touch, putting your heart into your genitals, putting your heart into your mind, and then see how we can get this body online. The other thing that people don't know is that your brain is the biggest sex organ, not your genitals.
It is. Yeah.
So we need to get your brain involved. So that means you can't be fantasizing, worrying, making the list, solving problems, trying to see what time it is, noticing there's a cobweb up there. I'll get it later. You have to actually show up. And breathe and figure out, how do I get into my body? Because most of us are in our heads all day.
Oh yeah.
And it's not your fault. Y'all, stop being so hard on yourselves. It's not your fault that you haven't figured out a fast way to get into your body yet. You know, parents don't teach you that. They don't teach you much. And many of us actually teach us more about what we don't want to be than what we want to be. So I'm really I just want to celebrate everyone who's watching this summit, because it really shows like what you care about, and that you're invested in having a great love life and a great sex life. And we all deserve to study that.
You
it's
bet.
such a fun thing to study too. I mean, when I think about disciplines, let me tell you, I've been on a lot of diets. Okay? I work out at the gym. When I think about like being disciplined in life, when it comes to learning how to be a masterful lover, there are some disciplines involved, and they are really fun disciplines. I mean, they're not a chore. They are joyful.
Yeah, that's what we want. Connect to that pleasure.
Yes, please.
So good. Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so much gold there. And I'm just so happy you spoke into that. Like creating sex like it's an experience, approaching it just like with the intention to connect and just explore and have fun rather than get shit done, you know, get my partner off. Like it's so much more to that. So I'm really glad we talked about that today.
Yeah. And I just also want to say that there's so much more to like sexual plane than genital to genital penetration. Like there's a lot of ways to get off. There's so many more ways to experience orgasm than what we've been told orgasm is. There's so much more sensation in your body that is non-genital sensation, that is still highly erotic, highly orgasmic. There's a lot of adventure to be had. And get out there. And start learning these wonderful things.
Well, I'm curious now, so I bet the audience is as well. So, which leads us into your free gift. I would love for you to share with us what that is.
Okay, so if you're like me and you've had experiences, especially when it comes to clitoral orgasms, where you are so close, like you're almost through the orgasm door, like you can see it in the distance, it's getting closer, it's getting closer, it's you're going to go through the door and you can't wait. And then suddenly it's gone. And you're like, what the hell? I was so close. How did I not go over this waterfall? Help, you know? We all do something. And I figured out what it was that's stopping us from going through the door, or another metaphor is going over the waterfall. And that is a secret I have to share with you. I've got a whole tutorial on what to do so that you never have to experience the elusive clitoral orgasm again. And it's so simple, it'll blow your mind. And what's really important is that you then go out and tell everyone about it. Once you realize you're doing this one thing and that it's so easy to correct, we are going to spread orgasm across the globe. And so please do not keep this a secret. Please tell everyone you know, and I can't wait for you to watch it.
Oh
And
my
it's only
God.
5 minutes. It's a super, super short tutorial.
Oh my gosh. That's going to be a game changer for so many people.
Was for me.
What a generous gift. Thank you, Leah. I'm excited to watch that.
Well,
Well, we're out of time, which makes me so sad. I feel like I have so many more questions I could ask in different avenues, but we get to wrap up now. Thank you so much for being here, Leah. It's been an absolute pleasure.
it was total honor for me, and I'm happy to provide a half-hour free discovery call for anyone who's interested in taking this conversation deeper. You can get a hold of me on my website and get on my schedule. And best of luck on the summit. I can't wait to watch the other speakers and to keep learning myself.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, we'll make sure we put that link below this video so people can get connected with you.
Great.
Awesome. And thank you to the audience once again for being here. This would not be what it is without you. I say it every time because it's so true. So I hope you enjoyed this chat today as much as I have. You got a few practical tools you can bring into your day with your lover or your partner, whoever. Practice eye gazing. That'd be really fun. So that's great. So thanks for being here and looking forward to seeing you for the next interview that'll help you unleash your pleasure. Bye for now.